Going to go over how you're going to turn the images that you've created into a book using Adobe InDesign and then uploading it to Blurb. We're currently at blurb.com because I wanted you to find the design tool area here and then go to Adobe InDesign. You're going to need the plugin from Adobe, which you can download here. There's also a video on how to use this plugin, but we're going to go ahead and use the video that I'm making now. So you go to download the plugin, and then you're going to need to create, there'll be another screen that tells you to create an account before you can actually get this. And then what you'll do is you'll download the plugin, and the plugin will download to your computer, in which case you'll just double click it and then have it installed. Once it's double clicked and installed on your computer, then you can proceed to the next part of this video. I'm going to go ahead and close these windows because I've already downloaded it and installed it on my computer. And so the next thing you're going to do is bring all the files that you're going to be using, including the cover image, into a single folder, and we're just calling this folder Coloring Book. This is really important because these files need to be located in a single location so that InDesign doesn't lose track of them. If you are using InDesign, or if you used it before, you know that InDesign doesn't actually embed the files like it does with PowerPoint. It actually just links to it. So if you move these files, InDesign's entire book will not work. So just make sure that you just have everything in a folder here. I'm going to go ahead and launch Adobe InDesign 2020, which is what you should have. If you've launched this before, it'll take a little less time. And then you'll be presented with this screen. Now we're going to be, I'm just going to, again, the Blurb book template creator, which once you've installed it on your computer, under File, way at the bottom, you will have these two new tabs, Blurb Book Creator and then Blurb Wall Art Creator. Go ahead and click the Blurb Book Creator. And the cool part about this is it tells you, it'll allow you to create a new book. Let's go ahead and do that just by hitting the word Create New Book. And we're going to call it Coloring Book 1. And we're just going to call it Denison Students. And it'll allow you to actually select from all the choices that are possible at Blurb. So we're going to be doing a 6x9 inch trade book, which is what we're going to do. The paper type we're going to be using for this book, we're going to just go ahead and select economy color, and we're going to select the type soft cover. And then for the ISB, we're just going to use Blurb provided, no cost. The number of pages we have is 24, so that should be already set. You can go up all the way up to 480. And then there are two types of documents we're going to be needing to create for this project. And the nice thing about this template creator is it kind of embeds everything for you into this nice area. But we're going to create pages first. So the inside of the book, we'll just click on this button. Gives you that same warning again. Again, it must be in multiples of 4, those kinds of things. We're going to hit OK. The placeholder, we're going to allow it to add that placeholder in. And then it's going to ask us where do we want to save it. Now this is where it's really important. Everything that was in your coloring book area, that's where we're going to be saving these pages. Remember, the pages are, this InDesign document is nothing more than a spreadsheet that links to those images. It will not embed the images. So I'm going to hit save. And then what we're going to be presented with is a 24-page already made, ready to set up book. So let's go ahead and hit the done button for now, and you'll see this window. Now I'm going to make this larger so you can see it, and I'm going to go to Windows, Workspace, and I'm just going to reset the essentials so that it'll be exactly like your essential workspace, just like in Illustrator. You see the property window on the right hand side, which tells you a little bit of information about the document that we're in front of us right now. And you can see everything is in points, by the way. So what I'm going to do is go to File, or InDesign, Preferences, Units and Increments, and I'm going to change these to inches just to be sure that everything that is in front of us is the correct size. And you'll notice there's another tab called Pages. If you click on this, you'll actually see all the pages this book has. So you can actually just double click to jump to any of these pages. And you can also see the outline. That's the trim that we had talked about. There are 3 parts to a book. The outline is the part that gets cut off, and then the white part is what should be left over. And then finally, the interior is where things could shift. So if anything is important, the elements are supposed to be in this gray area. Now, these things will not be exported with the template creator. So all this information that you see here, you'll notice that if we go to the Windows, the layers layer is going to be on a locked layer. So you know that if you wanted to, you can always turn this locked layer off. But again, this will not be exported at all. So how do you put some type of image into this area? Just like in Illustrator, you go to File, Place, and Command D, by the way, on this program is how you place. So I always just remember that. And I can then go into the coloring book folder and pick a couple of images that I would like. Maybe I'll start with my elephant image and hit open. And you'll know notice the cursor gets loaded in. And I'm going to zoom in to the upper left-hand corner. Now, assuming that this is exactly the right size, 6 by 9 inches is what we're looking for with a little bit of a trim. Just going to click it right on the outside of this red line and place it in. And then I'm going to, being zoomed in fairly close here, you can kind of see, I'm going to make sure that this this image gets snapped to that red line. So, and you can kind of see how it got snapped. Now if Command 0, you'll see that it actually fits perfectly inside of this frame. That's because this image was 6.125 wide. That means you've got that little bit of extra bleed here, and then 9.25 up and down, which means that it went over an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch on both sides here. And you can double check that, actually, an 1/8 of an inch. You can go to your view and look at the overprint preview, and you'll see that it actually crops out the part that's going to be trimmed in the book. All right, so let's try that again. I'm just going to zoom to the next one. Again, you could be in the pages area and you can double click to the pages so you can see. You can also zoom out quite a bit as well using the Command minus and the Command plus. So I'm going to double click page 2, go back to my properties panel and go File. And then I'm going to go Place, Command D. And I'm going to get my next image. So let's get a color one for this one. And I'm going to go and at the upper right hand corner, I'm going to snap that in. Beautiful image here. And I'm going to zoom in, make sure, let's go out of the overprint preview and just make sure that it is actually snapping to that red line. You don't want it to be not snapped to that line because otherwise it'll maybe get rid of something. I'm also looking to make sure that that image goes all the way to the dotted line. This is the fold area. So if it doesn't, we've got a problem with that image. Well, I'll keep doing this. I'm going to show you a way of loading up. We'll do Edit, Place, Command D. And this time I'm going to take, let's see, I'm going to take this one, and this one. I'm going to take all 3 of those just by shift selecting them and hitting open. And you'll see that it'll actually put in the first one. So I'll just move this one over here. Boom. Then it shows me the second one that I'm going to be placing. So in essence, I can place many at the same time. I'll put this one here. And then finally, the third one, I will put this third one here. And you can kind of see, you'll really want to make sure that this is actually accurate. You can see that it's a little bit off, right? It goes to the center. It doesn't overlap. That looks perfect. The same with the one I just did. Let's double check that to make sure that that one is correct. You can see I missed a little bit. So I'll just shift it over. Boom. And that's how it's going to be. And you'll just keep doing this. You'll see the pages start to be filled with content, right? So let's go to 6. And then I'm going to place, let's see, what did I already get? Don't place that. That one's good. That one's good. So I'll place this. Don't want that. This one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And we'll just go ahead and place them in. And the order is important at this point, but you have the option afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and fix that later. You have the option afterwards to fix that. Now, what happens if one of your group members, I just don't like it when it's not fixed perfectly, so I'm just going to fix these things. Okay, and again, both of these need to be snapped, and they both look good. So these were really well done illustrations. They all are the correct size. You can kind of see they all fit pretty perfectly in the space. They do have some issues along, you can kind of see that now, but hopefully those get trimmed off, that type of thing. So you can see this one was not quite there. So you kind of want to make sure that they're perfectly snapped in. And you'll just keep going, Command 0, 0, 0, Command minus, I'm sorry. And you can see what we've got so far. Now, if you wanted to, once everything is done, you can always move these pages around. You always need a page 1 by itself, because when you open a book, the first thing you see is the right-hand page. That's number 1. But if you wanted to take page 3 and physically move it in front of page 2, you can see that did it just by using the pages palette right here. So you can see this one moves in front of this one moves in front of this one. So this is a way of swapping it, or you can move them like up and down the stack. That will change everything. So you can see I could take this number 11 here and move it way up to this area in between, right, and let go. And now if I go here, you see now these two are there, and that's shifted everything down a little bit. So when you do that, that'll shift everything. So be aware of that. Now, here is how you solve some of the problems that you're going to have. So I'm going to go File, Place, Command D, and I'm going to pick a file that I know is not going to fit correctly, and you're going to see that here. I'm going to hit Open, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to put that file in. And what happened? Well, if you zoom out, you see that file is way too big, right? So you see that this can't be possibly the size of the book. Now there's a couple things. You've selected it, so you've got your handles, right? So you can always take this, holding the Shift key down, and make it smaller. But you see when you do that, it's actually cropping it to the size of the, it's not actually making the image smaller. So again, you can take this, holding the Shift key down, and just get it to the exact size that you need it. Once it's the size of this is called the cropping window right here. Once that is the correct size, you could then go to your Properties palette way to the bottom and select the third option, Fit Content to Frame. So your outer frame here is like the window of what we're seeing, and you can kind of see that if you click here on this little dot, you can actually move that image around. You can see there's a lot more underneath that cropped frame. But if you click this little button, Fit Content to Frame, it will now fit it to the correct size. Okay, another problem you might have, Command D, is that you'll pick something. This looks like a perfectly good image, right? Let's say this one. Well, let's say these are all really good images, but let's see. Let's say you just pick this flower one, and you notice, by the way, that's something else to be aware of. Notice how that replaced what was already selected, because when you select a box, if you had selected a box like this one and go Command D and place something, you'll notice that it actually replaces whatever was in that box. So I'm going to undo that, and notice when you undo that, it does actually allow you to have one more chance to place this somewhere else. And I'm just going to go ahead and place it here, and you see that it fits perfectly. So why is this a problem? I'm going to show you in a moment. Notice when you zoom in, what do you see? Well, I see a lot of like blocky pixels, right? On this one, I see nice sharp lines. Blocky pixels, nice sharp lines. This one will give you a good grade. This one not so much, even though the image is perfect and it's set up to be, you know, the right size. So what are the issues? Well, this issue specifically was it was not exported at the right size. I'm going to double check. This might be a little wide as well. Yeah, you can kind of see this one was also it was not exactly correctly sized as well. It's not high enough. You can kind of see that. But anyway, this was incorrectly created, and you can double check that by going to this little link here. Remember, everything that you have is a link, and everything that you've just brought in exists as a JPEG link right here. And you'll see that if I'm on this this number, flower.jpg, it's on page 13, and you can see the page down here at the bottom left-hand corner. You'll get some information if you open up this window. Sometimes it's like this, so you have to open it. And you'll see that it's actually 72 pixels per inch. And you know that the requirements were 300 per inch, right? So for instance, if I click here, I get that new JPEG, and you can kind of see that that is, in fact, a 72 per inch, but the dimensions were so big. So that's why this one worked out. But if we go to one that actually was a good one, let's select this one, you'll see that this is actually 300 pixels per inch, right? And we're looking at the dimensions being 18 by 1838 by 2225 pixels, right? And the same with this one. Notice 300 pixels per inch. So I will be looking for that as part of the grade per page. So I will look at the artwork, I will look at the resolution, and I will look at the size. So if it's not 1838 2775 pixels or 300 dpi, I will remove points from your grade. So again, these are all really, really well done. They were exported as JPEGs at 300 pixels per inch. If you have an issue with that, I will probably discuss this in class. But again, if you see the 72 here, and especially if you see that it's all blurry and jaggedy like this, that will lose you points. Obviously, if it doesn't fit the frame as well, that will also lose you points. And so a lot of people did this command. I'm going to just hit Command D, and I'll just pick these. And I notice the size is very small compared to some of the other things, right? So again, when I see these, I know right away that they were in fact they were just accidentally maybe exported as the wrong size, because they will show up, as you can see, at 72 ppi. And there's only 480 pixels of information in this, so you can kind of see that they are all in fact really jaggedy. So again, what you'll need to do is have your team members re-export these at the correct resolution, because a vector file does not have a resolution. And again, make sure that they stay inside the trim boundaries. As you can kind of see, this one doesn't. I will be looking for that as well. So hopefully this will help you get the entire book done. Now, assuming you get this entire book done, right? And remember, your first page will be your title page, this one, right? The second 2 pages will be the spread. Now, a spread will actually go across both pages. So you will have a spread that actually goes from the left to the right. So it takes up this entire width, and that we already gave you the information about how big the spread should be. So so when you have something like that, it'll actually do what it needs to do. So you won't need to worry about where this is placed. So for instance, it'll be a full spread like this, and the first page will be the title page, right? And the second page will be the full spread with the information about the book, and maybe information about the book, and then some beautiful images. Remember, don't put anything in the middle line, because that's going to be folded, right? And then finally, you'll just do all your work. You'll have full spreads available throughout. So if you need a full spread here, you can actually add one, right? So you can always just bring it in, and assuming the dimensions are correct, it'll actually show up as a full spread in that book. So that's something to note. And when you're moving, so I'm going to close this up, go to Pages. And when you move full spreads around, be aware that how that might change things. You'll notice that these will not actually move in the same way. You'll need to move the entire page by shift selecting the page and then moving that page to a new area. So if it's a full spread, select both sides before physically moving them, and don't put them in between things, obviously, and that'll move that around. Okay. You're going to make sure you save often, right? Save, because it's all ready. And when you're done with this part, you're just going to go File, Blurb Book Creator, and then you're going to create your cover, right? So so far you've created this guy. You're going to create your cover template. You're going to just hit Create. Be sure you are finished with your page designs. And this is really important. You must be finished because it's taking the number of pages in your page design to create the cover. Remember, the cover, the spine will be different based on how many pages you have. It might be long. If you have 100 pages more than this, obviously the cover needs to be wider, right? So number of pages is 24. That's correct. It's all finished. So let's go ahead and create our new cover. It gives you that warning. You read it. You're like, yep. And then you're going to put this coloring book cover in the same folder that your JPEGs were in. And you're going to now get the cover. And you'll notice that we go to the properties palette. You can hit done here. You'll see that the cover itself, and notice that you'll have to go back to InDesign's preferences, units and increments, and change this to inches again, because by default it starts at points. And you'll notice that the width is 12.09641 by 9. Of course, that is inside of the trim area, right? And it tells you this is the front cover. This is where the information is supposed to be about the book. This is the back cover, right? So if you're unsure about how you should be doing this, so only on this side should you be seeing the title for the book. If it crosses over these dotted lines, well, it won't be on the front of the book. Make sense? Okay, so for instance, just for fun, I'm going to go File, Command D to place, and I'm just going to, I know this is going to be the wrong size, but I'm just going to go ahead and place it, and I'll just place it here and just snap it to the grid. And yes, it is the wrong size, but just because, just for demonstration purposes, because I don't have a working cover right now, I'm going to make the frame a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to select this first button, fit the frame proportionally, and boom, it kind of fits like this. Now, when you see when it's folded in half, this back side will be on the back, and just part of this umbrella cover will be on the front. If it were me and I wanted to add a title inside of this, I could just add this little square, make it paper, change the opacity to something like, we'll be doing this later, maybe a little something like that. Give it a stroke, just exactly like you have in Illustrator. So everything you learned in Illustrator works in InDesign. And then finally, I'll use the text tool, and I'll just type something in here. Now I'm going to undo that. I'm going to use the text tool and click, hold, drag to create a window for the text. And I'm going to call it book cover. And I'm going to select that. Again, because my properties palette's open, I can actually just select what I want here, and then I can center it here, and that looks good. And I'm going to just hit OK, and then I'm going to change the window and move this down, and that's the book cover. And so this will be where the book is actually being, this is what we'll see when we purchase the book, for instance. So I'm going to save that, Command S or File, Save. And then I'm going to go back to the Blurb book creator. And you'll see coloring book is selected. It tells me how much this book is going to be for each one, $3.99. I want a printed book, not an ebook. The logo, I'm just going to have none selected right now, and I'm going to select upload book if I wanted to. This would be fine, but I will go ahead and push that just so you see what happens. When creating a trade book, it tells you that it has to be multiples of 4 for the pages, so 24 or 28, right? Because it goes by 4s, because it has a back and a front. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to do a little bit of work. It tells me about an ISBN code. I'm going to just select OK, continue. It gives me some issues. Now, remember what I told you about those images that didn't have the right resolution? They will actually tell you right here when you're ready to upload, hey, you have some serious problems, right? These images are too low a resolution. So it's telling you what your grade's going to be in essence, because I will be seeing that. And each one of these is going to deduct points from each page, right? I can proceed to upload in this case because those were intentional. And then it just allowed me to click it again. And the pre-flight means it's going to show you what the book looks like beforehand. So it's like creating all this stuff and turning it into Your book passed the local pre-flight process. That means there's nothing really totally messed up about this book. It'll open up a PDF right now for us to review. Now this PDF is a good to go PDF. You can always keep this. I'm going to hit OK. If you're satisfied, you can upload the book. Now this PDF has got two different things. You can see this is the cover, and then it'll have a second PDF. I'm going to zoom out for a second so you can see it, and it'll show you each of the images. And if you've got issues, you can kind of see one here. It'll show them to you, right? So if it's perfect, it'll fit the frame perfectly, but if there are issues, there are issues. So go back and fix that, right? I'm going to close this down, close all tabs. You can actually upload the book at this point, or if you've messed up, keep working, right? Boom. And then I'm going to just hit done here so I can continue working. I'm just going to hit do not show again. Okay. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a insight on how to go ahead and create your book for your group. Obviously, one person will probably be doing all this, which is why it's so important that that person has files that are actually well designed so that they're not fixing the problems at this point, right? I'm just going to close this down. So I'm going to close this here, and I'm going to close this here, and this is our InDesign. I'm going to close that, and you're going to see inside of this folder the two InDesign Coloring Book 1 and then Coloring Book 2. And you'll notice that if we were to list this, the size of these are fairly small, right, for having 24 pages. And that's because, again, all of these images here are linked. They're not they're not actually in the book. So if you were to hand these two things into me, those would be useless because there are no images, right? So I would need this entire folder. You can also see that Blurb put the files for the cover as well as the pages in here. So this is something that you could always share and put on your Behance website, because they're both PDF files, right? They're not something like that that are not available here. When you're all completely done, what I need from you is to take your file, your folder right here, and I will have you right click on it and notice where it says compress, right? I will actually have you compress it into a coloring book zip. In other words, what it's done is it's taken this folder and smashed it down. You can see it saved a little bit of space. And then this zip file is what you need to upload to the Google shared drive for me to grade. Inside of this folder, I can double click it, and you'll see it'll open. It'll create a folder with all your images in it, along with your Blurb files for upload, along with your Coloring Book 1 and 2. What I will do is I will upload the Coloring Book pages 1 and 2, the cover and the page. I will upload those to my Blurb account, and this way you guys don't have to worry about doing that. If you want to upload it on your own, you can do that, but I want to make sure that I purchase at least one book for the class, for all the work you guys have done. If you have any questions or problems, please contact me before the end of the weekend. Hopefully you'll have some time to actually go over this in class and kind of feel more comfortable about using InDesign to assemble your book. All right, thank you.